Super, and we're live. Hello and welcome to our December end of year SFI live special. And for people who have joined our webinars before, you'll notice that there's a couple of changes today. First of all, we're celebrating Christmas, so this is wonderful. We have a very festive theme for today's session, which is wonderful. So this is going to be really nice for this hour. And then remember, we do put these videos live on YouTube. So come March, this might look a bit strange that we're all still wearing our Christmas jumpers, but I'm sure people watching and catching up will bear with us. The second thing that I also wanted to communicate is the fact that I'm not Jay. So Jay, our regular host of SFI Live, unfortunately is unwell. Perhaps he didn't want to dress up in a Santa hat and join us today. So we're sending our virtual best wishes to Jay. My name's Adam and I'm hosting today's session. But you'll be delighted to hear that we've got Tony and Holly with us, who are going to steer us on our path through today's seasonal special. It's great to have so many of you with us, and we're delighted that you could join us. We're also really pleased to see a number of new people who have signed up for the first time today, so you are most welcome. We're going to do a tiny bit of housekeeping just to make you all aware of what we're going to be doing and how we're going to be delivering today's session, because it is slightly different from the format that we've done before. There's a quiz that's coming on later, which might be the reason why some of you are here, but we've put it at the end, so you have to participate all the way through before you get to enjoy the quiz. But we did want to start by just saying a massive thank you to everybody who's signed up and joined us throughout the course of 2021. It's been a real privilege to share SFI Live with you, and it'll be great to end today with a sort of slightly more festive session. And what we're doing today is splitting the experience into 4 parts. So we're going to do a little introduction, and you'll get to know Holly and Tony a little bit better. And then what we're going to do is we're going to reflect on some highlights from this year. So we'll be speaking to these 2 people about things that they found throughout this year, their personal highlights and their memorable moments throughout the course of this year. And then what we're going to do is just think a little bit about what may lie ahead for us. So we're going to put them on the spot and ask them about what might happen in 2022 and beyond. And then after that, we're going to jump into a criteria clinic and an opportunity for you to ask questions. And we'd love you to start asking questions as soon as you have them. So whilst we do those introduction pieces, if you've got any particular burning questions that you'd like to share, we'd encourage you to drop them into the chat. So in everyone's window, you should have a chat function, and we'd encourage you to drop a note in there. If anyone wants to just type in a hello message so that we know it's working, that would be really fantastic. But if you've got questions, then please do populate those, and we'll use those as the form of the second part of the session, which will be our criteria clinic. And then finally, we're moving on to our festive quiz. So Holly is our quiz writer for today. So we have a festive quiz. We haven't tried this before, so it's the first time that we're doing something quite like this. And we thought, well, we need to incentivize it. So there's going to be a wonderful prize. There's a £50 Amazon voucher on the way to the winner of today. And whilst we did try and encourage Holly to make it a huge quiz solely about mortgage rates, criteria and questions, unfortunately, she's opted for a completely Christmas and festive themed quiz. So hopefully you will all get an equal chance of winning that prize. When it comes onto the quiz, there's some particular administration that we need to do to get you onto another website. It's going to be slightly complex, but we're all going to have fun and we'll all be in it together. So that's enough from me. I want to start by introducing our 2 hosts for today, just so that we're able to all be aware of who they are. And you'll notice that they are extremely festively dressed as well. So let's go first to our festive elf, Tony.
Hi, I'm Tony Hall, head of mortgage sales here at Saffron. I've been with Saffron now about 18 months, and but I've got over 30 years experience in mortgages and specialist lending.
Super. Thank you very much. And are you a big fan of Christmas?
For today, yes, I am. Yes.
Wonderful. Next. Thank you very much. We did a planning session on Friday, which was Christmas jumper day, and they were also festive then. So we know that Tony's been festive at least twice. Holly, over to you. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Holly. I'm the intermediary team leader. I've been at Saffron for nearly 7 years now, and I've been in the mortgage team for 6. So I've looked after our BDM team, or telephone-based BDM team, for 3 years now. And as many of you will know, if you've dealt with us before, the team has grown over the last year. So yes, lots of positive changes, which I know we'll go on to later. So yeah.
Fantastic. And you are excited about Christmas as well?
Yeah, I love Christmas. Christmas starts for us probably maybe November. I think that's when we sorted out Secret Santa, wasn't it, Tony?
Yeah, she's called Holly. What do you expect? For Christ's sake, you know, it's
born in April though, so.
I mean, November. I have to hold her down to November. It could start in August, quite frankly. So yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I'm pleased. Thank you to everyone for starting to populate that chat and to say hello, which is great. Someone has wished everyone a festive Christmas. And I also noticed there's someone in there called Santa's Helper, who I think might be Charlie from Saffron. But if it isn't, hello, Santa's Helper. And you're most welcome to join us. Please do populate your questions for the Criteria Clinic. When we get onto that, we'd love to know what your particular mortgage challenges are. So we wanted to start then just by reflecting on the year that's been, to think about all of the things that have happened within the Saffron, the changes that we've made, and how we've been able to support you guys and encourage you as in the best possible way. And we thought we'd put Tony on the spot first to talk about how he's found 2021. So Tony, over to you. Talk us through your notable highlights.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. So I think we started the year on a euphoria after having our best year ever in lending as a society. So that's always a great place to start, but it is always a tough act to follow. But I am pleased that we are about to repeat the same this year. So that's been good. So notable for me is, as I said, starting the year on a high with following last year. We launched our limited company buy-to-let range in March, and that took off like a rocket. We found a really sweet spot in the market, and that got us really busy, but that gave us that real springboard into what we wanted this year. So that's kind of March. Throughout the year, we've grown and developed the team, and I know Holly will speak a bit more about that in a bit, so I won't spoil her thunder on that one. But we've done an awful lot to make it easier for you to do business with us, because that's the feedback we get, and that's what we want to do. So moving on to in the year, the highlights for me. Big one was May, when Holly picked up BDM of the year at the Financial Reporter Awards. I think that's what it was. If not, Holly will put me straight. So that was a real highlight to have one of our own up there recognised for the work she does, and that was well deserved. If I go into to July, picking up 2 awards at the Money Age Mortgage Awards for Best First Time Buyer, Lender, and Overall Lender of the Year. That was a real highlight for us. Real recognition that we're heading in the right direction and doing the right thing. As I said, as we went out through the year, more staff joining us, growing the team size has been great. Then we came into kind of September, and we made our biggest change to criteria in probably the society's living memory. So we completely reworked our criteria, or phase 1, because we've got phases to come, but we kind of made it a pandemic friendly criteria now. So we looked at all the areas where we before were saying no to, because that was the world at that point. The world's changed, and we're now far more flexible in areas where people are wanting to do things like houses with land, annexes, self-employed, being able to discount the 1 year, the pandemic year from the figures if it's the right thing to do. So we've really made our policy stand out in that way. And I think those are probably the notable highlights. And I think really what we have focused on this year is our service delivery. I know Holly will talk about that in a bit, but we do a regular half yearly survey, as well as real-time surveys. Every time an offer gets issued, we survey the broker, and we can see our NPS and our satisfaction scores have really gone up this year. So that's a real highlight, and that's come from broker feedback. We listen, we act, and we wait for the response. So we're really pleased with that. That's probably the biggest things for me.
Fantastic. Well, we'll let Holly talk about, maybe Holly will put her crown on for her BDM of the year when she talks about that. But I'm curious as to just do a couple of things that you were talking about there. I think the approach that we've had to change the criteria that we use to support the pandemic, talk about how momentous that was, and the likely implications of what that might look like as we go to the future in terms of how our criteria are set, reflected, and reviewed.
Yeah, as a lender, we've we're very clear now on our approach, which is we want to be a lender that supports the specialist markets, those who've got complicated sources of income, or who are new to self-employment or want to build their own home. That's kind of where we are. So there were certain areas of our policy that didn't reflect our strategic aim in terms of this is the kind of lending we want to do. So we had to look at those and go, right, if we want to resonate with our partners in this market, with our brokers, we have to have a policy that does that. So that was the driver behind it. And as I said, it's not a once done and dusted. This is ongoing. I've literally come off a meeting today about the next changes and what we can do next. I'm out with brokers all the time saying, what is it that we do that you don't like, or where's there gaps that we could do? And as a result of those, I've fed back in 3 things today, which will ultimately change our policy, because our policy and our approach is all about our brokers, because we are 100% reliant on our brokers to give us business. We don't do business any other way.
Yeah,
so that's why it's important.
That's really helpful. So I hope for everyone listening, they've been able to get an understanding for the things that we're doing internally to try and make your life a little bit easier, and also the things that we're doing to help make us more accessible, so that you can talk to us and present us with your unique challenges, so that we can hopefully have a response that works for you and your customers. We're going to go to Holly in a minute to talk about her reflection, but I just want to remind people that if you do have those particular questions and those particular challenges, or feedback on how we have developed what we've already done, please do drop them in the chat, because after we've spoken to Holly and we're looking a little bit to the future, we're going to go to that section. So please do remember to pop some questions in there. That would be really helpful. So our festively named Holly, reflect please, if you will, on 2021.
Yeah, so I think the main highlight for me is probably the growth of the team. When we started 2020 and went into lockdown, it was just myself, Sophie and Debbie. So sort of 2.5 staff, as Debbie was part-time. And then as we've sort of grown, we got Lindsay on board at the end of 2020, and then into 2021, we've had Raji and Lizzie join our telephone team, but we've also had our 2 fantastic new field-based BDMs. So you've got Phil, who looks after the North region, who I know if you've seen our webinars before, you will have seen him on, and also Simon, who looks after the South region. So again, I think he's been on a webinar in maybe October time. So that's been great to have. And I think the benefit of having the field-based is that we can, promote ourselves more. We spent a lot of the previous years being largely silent. And now people are, we're making sure that who Saffron are, what we're doing, what we're about, who we are. We've been to some fantastic events towards the end of this year. We've got some great events that we've signed up for next year, and you'll see us more if you're out and about. Fingers crossed, Boris doesn't keep us at home again. But it would be great to be out and about and definitely shouting about the team. And hopefully we'll have some more recruits in the near future. So I think the team expansion's been great for us, and it's just allowing us to make some changes. Jumping ahead a little bit, we do have some changes early in 2022 with our telephone team. So the way that you contact Saffron will be even better than it is now. I know that, previously it's been hard to get through to us, but, we've changed that in the last sort of 6 to 9 months, where it is a lot easier to get hold of the team, mainly because we've expanded, but we are making some changes that I know are really exciting, and that, fingers crossed, should be January.
That's wonderful. And you did win an award or something, but we're not gonna focus on that.
That's fine. I'm glad Tony mentioned that, because
we're not gonna major on it, but it is wonderful. It's really interesting. So Tony very much reflected on how we changed our criteria, became more adaptable, and tried to ensure that we could provide brokers with the best level of support. And then Holly, you're reflecting much more on how we've expanded the team to actually provide a better quality of care and relationship with our brokers. What advice would you have to brokers who want to communicate more with the team and want a better understanding? How open are we to chats? That's what I'm trying to ask.
Always open. So it's not just, picking up the phone. You can email us. We've got our live chat function. So on our website, during working hours, the live chat's in the bottom left-hand corner. If you want us to run through our USPs, So have a good chat with you about our criteria. We can either get our field-based or our telephone BDMs on the phone to you, or, you know, depending on where you're located, hopefully out to see you in the new year. We're always happy to chat. And if it's just a bit, if you want to bounce an idea off, or you've got a case that's going through that you need some assistance with, we do have our processing team, but always give us a shout. You know, we have great relationship with our underwriters. We meet with them on a daily basis to run through some of the complicated cases that we get. So if there's anything you need sort of questions asking or anything like that, we're always happy to chat. And, you know, as you know from me, don't like to struggle to shut up. So yeah, the team are exactly the same. We just love talking, and we love hearing from brokers, whether it be feedback, you want to talk about a case, or, you know, you just want to flesh out some ideas, tell us some product gaps. It's always
wonderful.
Good.
Thank you. Those who have sat through the first 16 minutes will get a really good understanding that we love talking. So that's good. So hopefully that's coming across. We just want to spend a moment or two just thinking about the immediate future and what 2022 looks like and how that's likely to pan out for us. Please do ask particular questions. We have one already, which is great. So we've got one question, but we're not going to do the quiz unless we get more than one question. So let's try and find some more questions to put in. Otherwise, I'll be thinking of them. So Tony, you said in your introduction that you'd already sat this morning in a meeting where you are reflecting on some additional changes to the criteria. So what does 2022 look like in terms of your expectations of the market, but also in terms of the criteria that we might support?
Well, the market, I think, is obviously still very buoyant. I mean, I looked at the article of the day. They were predicting a 316 billion market next year, which is, you know, I think this year was kind of 280 to 300. So they're expecting growth. Obviously, it is very, very big opportunity for remortgages in 2022. You know, there's a huge spike earlier this year, and there's a huge spike in January. So there's a lot of opportunity for remortgages. Purchase market is still very strong. I think there is supply chain challenges. You know, first-time buyers are struggling to find a property. We see that. So I think that's going to change. It's interesting to see the news that the Bank of England are considering removing the 3% additional stress test on affordability models. Now, that will be a very interesting one, because that will open up potentially far greater affordability and for first-time buyers, or for anybody, to potentially borrow more money. Now, all that will be linked to can they afford to, but some of those restrictions placed in the market in 2014 are looking to be lifted. So that's different. I think it might be also there's talk of it being a year for buy-to-let landlords as well. So for us, it's just carrying on as we are. You know, our growth ambitions are fairly steady. We're not looking to blow the doors off. It's about it's more about the right lending for us than any lending. So it's very much about margin and ensuring that we're hitting the markets we want. We are looking to broaden our portfolio of products next year and deepen our range as well, so that we provide more opportunity to help more people. So that's constantly what we're looking at. And you know, on the other side, as Holly alluded to, I'm looking to hopefully grow the team further in 2022. So you'll have more people to talk to and more people to engage with that can help you help your customer. So I think that's a snippet of what I think next year from a market and from our perspective. Actually, one other thing I will say is we have a real focus and a real corporate objective to have service that stands out, and that's obviously standing out for the right reasons, not the wrong. So a big driver for us is how we deliver what we do, because that's the only thing that we can truly control, because products and criteria can be copied. We know that. But the one thing that we have sole accountability for is how we treat you and how we do stuff. And we're focused heavily on ensuring that we are easy to do business with, because that's what we know is what our partners want. And that's what we're going to deliver and learn from. We won't always get it right, but we learn quickly, as you know, a lot of things we've changed this year. So I can see I'm losing the audience, so I'll shut up now. And,
that's all right. That's really helpful. Thank you, Tony. I think it's good. It's really good to get that bigger picture in terms of what we're seeing. But I think one of the key points that you raise is that everything is relatively fluid at the moment. We're seeing lots of change. We're seeing change from government and regulation, from the Bank of England. We're seeing lots of different pieces that will affect the puzzle. And so what we're trying to do is remain agile so that we can roll with those changes and support you in the best possible way. I was going to then go quickly to Holly and just talk about how the Saffron can rise to that challenge. But Tony, you've already teased the fact that we're trying to grow the team and support. So
Oops,
Holly, is there anything else?
The script, sorry.
Yeah, that's quite right. It's Christmas. It's fine. Holly, is there anything else that we're doing in light of that to make sure we're able to best support our brokers?
Yeah, so apologies for any background noise. The neighbours.
That's all right. Are you developing?
Yes. So what for us, I think the main change that you'll see is just how our telephone team works in January. So what we will be doing is changing the way that you contact. So we'll have our intermediary support team, which will be Lizzie, Lindsay and Raji. And then you'll have our fantastic telephone BDMs who are Sophie and Debbie, who many of you will already know, and they will be supporting the field base. So that should come out in January as the official launch. I've probably done a bit of a spoiler, but yeah, we are hoping that will all be in place in January. So yeah, that's really exciting. I think, 2022 is an exciting year. We've only just started scratching the surface with the things that we want to do. And I think, looking at the plans that we want to go, the places that we want to go to, all the different product ranges, and also just being out there, shout about our green proposition, building our green proposition, because we know that's such a focus within the market. I think that's really exciting because it is sort of an emerging trend that, many lenders have already got products, same as we have, but I think it's expanding it more because it's becoming in consumer consciousness. And yeah, 2022 is an exciting one. Can't wait.
We're all very excited. So that's good. I think the key thing that's we want to communicate is the fact that you can just talk to us. So if you've got particular questions, we're reading and engaging with the same material as you are, but we do have the ability to pull questions from different brokers to get a real good understanding of the sector. And if we can help, we can help. If we don't know the answer, we're really happy to explain that we can go away and find a solution or find a thing for you. So the key thing is it'll be a good year for all of us, fingers crossed, but do approach us. So we're going to move now into the criteria clinic phase, which is where we're going to reflect on some particular questions. And we'll go through these, but please do keep adding the questions to the chat. We'll go through them as in as much detail as we possibly can. And do remember that we could do follow-up questions based on our responses. So if Tony says something that triggers your imagination, also something that you want to query or challenge, then please do add that to the question as well, so that we're likely to be able to provide you with a really succinct response. And then when we've all had quite enough of that, we'll move on to our festive quiz, which is going to take a tiny bit of administration. So bear with us when we get there. But first, let's go to some questions. So thank you to those of you who have already submitted them. We're going to start with one from Jamel, because you were the first one to do it. So thank you very much. We've got a question here. Can you speak about large properties with an annex? How would you treat them, and what important information would you need? So, Tony, I don't know if you want to tackle that one first.
I'll let Holly.
Holly would like to tackle that one first.
So annex is, as Tony said, is one of the policy criteria changes that we made in October. So we can consider properties that have an annex that are for personal use only. So if they want a family member living in there, or they just need some extra space, then we can consider those. But if they're self-contained, have separate access, separate utilities, or council tax, we're unlikely to consider them, just for the risk of them being sublet. So it's more for personal use. Annexes are able to be considered. But yeah, if they've got different utilities and different council tax, then it's too self-contained for us to be able to consider. And with the larger properties, we can go up 20 acres of land, and that includes people that have got a hobby farm. So if they wanted to, have some grazing cows and sheep, then they're more than welcome to. But it's up to 20 acres as long as there's no agricultural ties.
Fantastic. That's really helpful. Thank you. One of the elements and components of your answer actually leads into the next question, because there's lots of people who are asking about letting, holiday lets, and various different other components. So the first question here from Marcus: are we in the holiday home and Airbnb market?
I'll take this one, and Holly can jump in when I get it spectacularly wrong, no doubt, with our policy. But yes and no is the answer to this. So we are happy to do second homes, so a holiday home up to 80% loan to value. We don't currently allow Airbnb within that environment, though, but it is under consideration. That was one of the things I was talking about this morning. So yes, we'll happily fund a holiday home for somebody for their own personal use up to 80% loan to value as it stands. And I'm hoping that we can come out soon and say we'll also allow short-term letting via Airbnb and other associated markets at some point soon.
Fantastic. Holly, are you comfortable with Tony's answer?
Yes.
Yay! Fantastic.
Well, a cracker if I had one.
And I think that's an example where we will keep things under review, as Tony's suggesting there, and look at it. So if you're finding that you're having a lot of requests for these things, then please do continue to raise them and let us know. There's a similar question here around holiday lets, and if so, would we allow someone to switch from initially a buy to let to a holiday let? If a client switches for, say, 2 years to a 5-year deal, what does the same answer apply?
Well, we don't currently do holiday lets. We don't have a product for that. It is on our development. We were hoping to launch it earlier this year, but we've not been able to for lots of different reasons. So we don't currently do holiday lets. It is something we'd like to do, and as soon as we can, you'll know.
Super. Thank you very much. We've got a specific question or a couple of specific questions around the minimum income level for buy to let. So I'm going to put that at Holly. On my screen, Tony's pointing an arrow towards me, but Holly is down there on mine. So Holly, over to you.
I'll appear somewhere on somebody's screen. So at the moment, buy to let's minimum income is 25,000. It can be made up of other rental income, so not the subject property. So rental they receive on other properties is absolutely fine. And then it's per application rather than per applicant. So it's 25,000 across the application. What the underwriters will specifically look at is that they feel comfortable that the customer can cover rental voids and property maintenance. And especially for first-time landlords or landlords with sort of a small number of properties, will really sort of have a look at their income just to see that we'll feel comfortable that they can support any rental voids or those property maintenance. And I did see Simon's question about removing the minimum income for buy-to-let applications. It is a hot topic internally at the moment. It's something we're looking at. So just, watch this space. But at the moment, it's sticking at 25,000.
Okay, that's really helpful. There's a piece here around self-employed status and around the idea that actually potentially if the COVID pandemic continues to grow and develop, we might see more people changing their careers, changing their personal status. What is the Saffron's policy on lending when people have limited accounts and financial records to share? Holly, perhaps over to you.
I think with the self-employed, the one thing that we always like to shout about is that we can consider applicants with just 12 months of accounts. And as of, I think it was November, we launched the 90% loan to value product for the self-employed applicants. So we're sort of really flexible on what they're looking to do. If they've only got 1 year's accounts, we don't necessarily need them to have industry experience within the industry. They could be completely afresh, and we'll just look at that set. With the self-employed product, that's for 1 or 2 years accounts, and they will need an accountant's projection just to confirm they're going to be working at the same level, if not more profitable in the year ahead. So that also covers if someone's been previously a sole trader and then they've moved to limited company, they'd need 1 year's accounts. But yes, our self-employed criteria has been something that we've really focused on this year, especially because we know how people have had to adapt, whether, restaurants have had to move to doing takeaways, people have had to go to being freelance. So it's all those changes. And that's why we sort of had a look at to make it more of a pandemic friendly criteria, I think is the better phrase. And if somebody's got 2 or 3 years accounts, we could potentially, in some circumstances, ignore the COVID year, providing they're back trading, and we'll be looking at the 3 months business trading accounts. So yeah, We've got a lot to help self-employed, and I think it helps our underwriters have that manual approach, so they can really identify, you know, these people have been affected by COVID. This may be how they've adapted, or this is how they've bounced back once things have reopened. You know, it's unknown as to what the future brings, but I very much, fingers crossed, touch wood, it's as bad as when it was in lockdown 1.0.
That's really helpful. So whatever the restrictions might be, service will remain our priority, and it will be really important that you can contact us and discuss these individual requirements. Now, there's always a danger when you do an event like this in December that it becomes a little bit cheesy, hence the hat, and a little bit relaxed. But I'm really pleased to see some really specific questions that are going to really keep Holly and Tony on their toes. So we've got one here from Wally. Thank you for your question. Do you do buy-to-let where two flats are on the same freehold title, with both lets on ASTs but not on leases, separate individual entrances for each flat, etc.? So I'm going to throw that at Holly because she's looking more friendly to that question than Tony. So I'm going to save Tony for a special one.
That's fine. So we wouldn't actually consider that scenario. So we cannot consider freehold flats. We can consider leasehold flats where they have a share of the freehold, or there is a management company in place with the freehold, but they would have to be leasehold flats. And depending on the exposure, and we'd probably only consider in that circumstance one of two. So they'd have to be leasehold for us to be able to consider.
Okay, super. That's really helpful. Thank you. Right, Tony, if you're sitting comfortably, would we consider HMOs up to 5 tenants, individual tenancy agreements, licensed, etc.?
Yeah, I can take that one because unfortunately we don't lend on HMOs currently. So no is the answer to that. Again, it is something we used to do and something we want to get back to, but certain various things are stopping us at the moment. And again, as soon as we can, we will publish our clear criteria at that point. But sadly, at the moment, no.
Okay, that's helpful, and hopefully it's helpful for us to have an answer, even if the answer isn't exactly what you want to say. Apologies for that, Amanda, but do stay in touch and see how we develop in the future. There's a question here from Max. He says, "Good morning, everyone. It is still the morning, just about. We haven't moved on to the quiz yet. How are you on self-employed, primarily contractor, paid in the UK by an employer, but based overseas by virtue of contract, and in this case in Berlin?" Thanks from Max. So I'm going to throw that at Holly.
I mean, Tony, you look confident on that one. I was going to let you take that. But so we're okay with self-employed contractors. We have two different products. We have the, for a residential basis, self-employed or the contractor product. If they are being paid in a foreign currency, we don't currently consider. And if they're primarily based overseas, the only option that we do have is in the expat space, but they cannot be within the EEA region. So really depends on what they're looking to do.
That's right. That was wonderfully answered, Holly. And you also dealt with the doorbell going, which is so 2021 when you're on a call.
Oh, that's me. I am going to be really unprofessional and go off screen for 20 seconds because my Amazon deliveries have turned up. Do bear with me, everybody. I apologise.
What Tony is reminding everyone is that the prize for the quiz that we're hosting in just a matter of minutes will be a £50 Amazon voucher. And it may indeed be the Amazon voucher in itself arriving at Tony's door. So that's wonderful. We've got a couple of questions here, Holly, in relation to our approach to buy-to-let and whether we offer the same rates for personally owned buy-to-lets as we do to limited company-owned buy-to-lets.
Now that he's back. No.
Sorry about that.
So our rates do slightly differ. So we currently in the everyday range only have our 5-year fix available, which is 3.97 currently, obviously subject to change if you're watching this in March or April if you're watching this on catch up. And our limited company buy to lets, we do actually have a 2-year and a 5-year. So our 5 years are the same. So the limited company buy to let is also 3.97, but we do have a slightly cheaper 2-year rate at 3.77. So all of the rates are available on the website with all of the product criteria as well. So in answer to your question, they are the same rate.
Super. Thank you very much. Tony, do we lend on BISF construction properties?
I don't know, Holly, do we?
Holly,
Yeah.
do we lend on BISF
Yes, we
detached
do.
properties?
So it just depends on the property itself, if there's any structural repairs needed. So it's just referring it over to us and we can have a look at it in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, fantastic. Tony, we don't know what the prospect will be and whether there'll be further government support for individuals through the form of furloughs if the work from home restrictions and things go in. Will that mean anything for our mortgage business in terms of the restrictions or the conditions that we offer?
Well, it might do. We don't know that yet. But from our perspective, we've never we haven't changed our lending policy as a result of the pandemic in a negative connotation. So because we have the beauty of a human underwriting every case, we literally do take every case on its own merits and make a common sense decision. So if for whatever reason that individual can demonstrate an affordability and we can lend responsibly, then it'll be yes. If they can't, or we can't get comfortable, then it will remain a no as it is now. So we have that ultimate flexibility there to, I suppose, roll with the punches as changes come.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. We've got one more question that's currently in the stack. So this is a final call for questions. So please do populate the questions within the chat function if you have any particular questions before we close the formal part and move on to our festive quiz. So we have a question from Will. He asked whether we require EWS1 forms on flats. Lots of questions about flats today, Holly. Over to you.
I thought Tanya could answer this one. No, it's fine. So EWS1 form, if the property does have any form of cladding, then we will need to know, see their EWS1 certificate. So it just depends on the property. We currently do have a restriction, whilst we're on the subject of flats, we do have a restriction to the maximum number of floors is 5. However, if the property is over 5 floors, please do get in contact because we can look at them as subject to underwriter referral and subject to valuer's comments as well. So just because the policy and the lending criteria on the website might not say that's sort of the maximum, you always do get in contact with us. One of the key things that I would say is about our bespoke nature, which we haven't mentioned today, is that if you have a particular case that might not quite be in policy, so it could be they have a bit of adverse that's outside of character for them, but the rest of the case is really strong, we could potentially look to bespoke the rate. So it'll be north of what's currently offered. However, it would be that we can help them out. So it's just really giving us a call and having a chat and going through. So yeah, just one thing to shout about with that one is we do offer bespoke pricing on products as well. So if you've got any criteria questions, any of the team are happy to help.
Super. That's really helpful. We've had a question come in just around the CPD certificates. Apologies, we didn't mention that earlier. And we will be able to supply them afterwards, and we'll contact everybody who attended to let you know that you can have those if you'd like them, and we can share them with you. So that is fine. We've got just another question from Will, just to follow up on his previous one. Would a fire safety certificate assist with this as well in relation to the EWS1 forms for flats?
I would assume, thinking common sense, potentially. However, what I'll do is I'll have a chat with our underwriters after the meeting, and I know that your contact details will be on the sign up. So what I'll do is I'll get in contact with you once I've spoken to the underwriters.
Fantastic, thank you. You guys are all having conversations with brokers all the time. Have there been particular themes or trends that you've noticed over the last few weeks that have come up, that have been particular, a number of them relating to individual issues?
Yeah, so I think from what we're seeing is sort of our popular categories still at the moment tend to be expat, residential and self-build. Self-builds, we are starting to see a lot more modern methods of construction, a lot more passive house properties being built. So it's some interesting properties come through. We've had some fantastic proposals this year in cases that have come through. We've had properties that, have have been built to passive house standard. We've had properties that look like tree houses. We've had all sorts this year, so it's really fantastic to see. You know, and primarily, as well as the green mortgages being a focus for next year, so we'll self-build and really showing you what modern methods of construction we will do. Currently don't do shipping containers at the moment, but you know, we've had a couple of inquiries for those, but there's all sorts out there, and it's an ever-growing market. So we, you know, we've always done them in-house, and we will continue to at this time. And I think if you have any questions, any projects, any clients looking to do a self-build, even if you want just a bit of help of how to even start, we've got a fantastic data capture form on our website I can share, where you can just help you get the information that you need from your client initially. So yeah, we've got a self-build guide, and the team are really, really knowledgeable. So if you do have any self-build proposals, don't be afraid to turn them away. Just come and have a chat with us.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one thing I'd say with self-build is again, just chat to us.
Fantastic.
Sorry, Adam, just to support Holly on that. You know, self-build is a key passion for us, and one of the other key beauties is you can come to us direct. We have the experience to do all this direct. You don't have to go via a third party if you don't want to. If you prefer to come to us, or you're nervous about doing it for the first time, just engage with the team. We'll talk you through every step of the way, as Holly says, because we're really passionate about self-build, and you know, we do an awful lot of it, and we want to do an awful lot more. So we're really happy there.
Yeah. Okay. Just following on from that idea of self-build, what would the approach be if we were considering a self-build with timber cladding? We've talked a little bit about other cladding. Holly?
Absolutely fine on that one, but what we would need is the property to have an internal masonry skin. So as long as the property has that with the cladding on the top, that's absolutely fine. Any modern methods of construction, or any construction methods, we do like to see them accredited by either BOPAS, BBA or BRE. And yes, we're happy with sort of cladding as long as there's that internal masonry skin. And to Penny's question as well about the barn conversions, yes, we can consider land and help you purchase the land to do completely new properties, or we can do knockdown rebuilds, barn conversions, large renovations, large extensions, a lot of things, and custom build as well. I don't know how I nearly missed that one. So if people are looking to buy a plot and then do the custom build via the developer, we can do as well. So there's a variety of different things that we would do.
And I think self-build remortgage as well, we do a lot of. That's worth mentioning. So if you're halfway through and you're struggling or whatever, we can look at those as well.
Super. Thank you for that, Holly, and thank you for then taking on the next question. I'm afraid we've got another follow-up question that's related to that, and the danger is as soon as we start asking this, we get very specific with our examples. But at the Saffron, we love specific examples because, again, we try and tailor everything that we do for individuals. So, Holly, I don't know if you can see the question there from James, and whether you can provide an answer for that.
So it is something that we'd need to refer to the underwriters. I believe that we are able to consider, as long as it's the BOPAS, BBA or BRE accredited and can get the right warranties. However, what I will do, again, similar to the question to Will, I'll review with our underwriters post-webinar and come back to you later today.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Well, we've drawn to an end of the clinic time here, and we're going to move on to our festive quiz. And so we've got some instructions in how to do this. And forgive us, we're always keen to try new things, and we're keen to experiment. This one is going to be a little bit of fun that we're going to do for people, but it is going to require a little bit of adaptation. So Santa's Helper has populated within the chat a link to Kahoot. Kahoot is a quiz program. So in a moment, you'll be able to click on that link. It will ask you for a game pin, and it'll ask you to put the pin in, but don't do it just yet. It was really important that you open a new window. Otherwise, you'll leave the webinar, which would be devastating. So we wouldn't be able to see the results. So we're going to encourage you to click on the link in a moment. You're going to put in the game pin and then add a nickname. And it'd be really helpful if you put your name in there, because then we can identify you as the winner and ensure you get your prize. There are a small number of questions that we're going to share with you. And each of these questions is festively themed, and you have just 20 seconds to answer them. So it's all automatic. We ask you to play in the right and most appropriate spirit. So no Googling, but with 20 seconds, there probably isn't time to Google anyway. And we're going to award the winner. The winner will be automatically assigned, and that will be based solely on accuracy of questions and the speed of answer. So we should most definitely 100% get one winner because it's based on speed as well as accuracy of answering the questions. So hopefully everyone can look at the chat form and they can see the link. So I'd ask you to copy the link and open a new tab. And then there is a code for you to enter. And then we will all be taking the quiz together at the same time, which is wonderful. So if I ask you all to do that, I'm just going to do it myself as well. And then hopefully we will all be in the same place. Holly and Tony are not invited to play because they wrote the questions, and so we'll all know the answers. And so we're
guarantee of that.
We're all in. We're just going to wait for a moment just to make sure everyone's here, and then we're going to ask Santa's helper, aka Charlie from the Saffron, to press go. So we'll just give a couple more seconds if anyone is having difficulty. So Santa's helper says 22 people are in so far, so that's really good. We do have 66 people on the webinar, so there's still space for more people to take part. A reminder that the quiz is based on Christmas questions, and the prize will be a £50 Amazon voucher, which may or may not have been in the delivery that Tony received when he went to his door during the. Alice asked, "Where is the chat form?" On the right hand side you can see the group chat. If not, I can read it out for people that can't access it. So it is kahoot.it, which is KAH0OOT, KAHOOT.it. And then the URL that we've specifically got then follows with a question mark and then PIN, PIN, equals, and then the code is 9177819. So hopefully that works for everyone. Santa's helper, how many people do we have waiting in the lobby? We'll just wait for that to update.
Adam, I did also just spot a question from Simon, which I will post the link to the supplementary information sheet in the chat box. So for the data capture form, just so everybody has that as well. But you can find it on our website under the supplementary documentation. There's a whole self-build section there.
Super. Thank you very much. So Santa's helper has said that there's now 33 in there. We'll just give it one moment more. And Holly, thank you for that file link as well. So that will appear in the chat. Okay, so we are going to get cracking.
So I had a Penny saying she was not asked for a pin.
Oh, okay. I think that specific link includes the pin. So as long as you've got a nickname, you should be able to access it. So we have a number of people in there already. And Holly, thank you for sharing that as a direct message. So hopefully that will in. Says that I'm in, but not asked for a pin. So if you're in, don't worry about it. And Santa's helper, if we could get started in just 10 seconds. Should we count down? No, that's silly. Let's get cracking. Santa's helper, can you please press go? And we will all remain on the webinar, so you'll be able to hear us, but the questions will begin. So Santa's helper, if you could set the quiz off. Santa's helper says, will do. So it's just loading now. So hopefully everyone who's able to do it will be able to see the same experience. Remember, you've just got 20 seconds to provide the answer. So question one in 2, 1. Oh, I'm seeing a number of shapes here. Charlie, I'm seeing a triangle, a square, a circle, and a diamond rather than questions. I don't think that worked. I'm so I'm so sorry. Everyone is seeing shapes and it isn't working. So sometimes we try things in the hope that it will work and it will be successful. Charlie, I don't know whether everyone else has experienced the same thing. It's timed out and that hasn't worked. Everyone has seen shapes and shapes are not very festive. So I do apologize about that. What we will do instead is that we will send an email to everybody who attended and give you the opportunity to take part in the quiz. So we will ensure that we do get a winner, but I do apologize that today it just hasn't quite worked. I'm just reloading my screen to see if something happens, and I think the questions are exactly the same. So it hasn't worked. I do apologize. We did test it before the call and it did work perfectly, but it hasn't worked now. So what we will do, because we're determined to have a winner, is that we will circulate the quiz through another medium today. We'll give people till the close of play on Friday to complete it, and we will pick a prize winner at random from the person who gets the most answers right. And we'll deliver that and announce the winner. So I do apologize that hasn't worked. We wanted to try something new and try something different, but sadly it hasn't worked. Hopefully it hasn't enjoyed your Christmas spirit, but we will move on and you will see us all again in the new year. I wanted to just say a quick thank you on behalf of everyone who's joined the webinar today and joined us throughout the year. It's been wonderful to share some of our knowledge and experience and answer your questions. And I think it's really important that we remember that we are here to answer and help you and do whatever you can. Don't forget, we'll share the CPD certificates with everybody and keep an eye on your email for the festive quiz. Someone will become a winner and we'll be able to find one, but apologies for that. So the last thing that we'll do is just offer our goodbyes and festive wishes from Tony and Holly.
Yep. Happy Christmas, everybody. Thank you for all your support this year and looking forward to a fabulous 2022.
Thanks very much. And Holly?
Happy Christmas, everyone. We will see you in the new year. And don't forget, not only is this quiz, we've also got our daily email that's coming out from our team, which we will be talking about our USPs, but we'll also be asking a Christmas question in that. So please, there's another chance in that to also win a Amazon voucher or a hamper. So please do, look at that and look through the team. It's a great introduction, so you can put faces to names as well. So yeah, plenty of opportunities to win through our Christmas mediums this Christmas. So yeah, apologies for the technology, but hope everyone has a safe and healthy Christmas and New Year.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. It's been a pleasure, and we will see you in 2022. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.